So, Dillian Whyte has tested positive for a banned substance just 3 days before his fight with Oscar Rivas. This is the Battle Camp. Please hit the subscribe button. You'll find it in the bottom right hand corner of your screen. What the fuck is going on? Like, just when Dillian Whyte thought that right now I've won this fight against Oscar Rivas and I'm now the mandatory challenger, this shit comes along. He's fucking failed a drugs test. Now, if you look at Twitter, people have already made their judgments. You know, a lot of the people on Twitter have been basically talking about how he's fucking guilty, how out of order he is. There were people even discussing the fact that apparently Oscar Rivas' team and Oscar Rivas weren't even informed that Dillian Whyte had popped before the fight. So there's a lot to kind of digest with all of this situation. But the thing, all right. So there's two ways of looking at it. The first way is he had a banned substance in his system, irrespective of what it is or how much of it is in his system. He had a banned substance in his system, so he should never have been allowed to continue. He shouldn't have been allowed to fight Oscar Rivas. Therefore, he should have not been in the position where he's now a mandatory challenger to that belt. The other way of looking at things is, if you look at the article, it doesn't tell us what substance it is or how much of the substance is in his system. And that's the devil's in the detail, isn't it? That's what you'd need to know to see, all right, was this guy cheating? What happened? Now, what I mean by that is, this is obviously pure speculation. We don't have enough detail, but it would make sense if he had some form of medical issue, injury, ailment, whereby he had it cleared to take medication to resolve that issue, and that medication had a trace amount of an illegal or banned substance in it. The reason I say this is for Eddie Hearn to allow the fight to continue. If Dillian Whyte was full to the brim of fucking PEDs, then fuck Eddie Hearn, basically. After how vocal he was about Jarrell Miller, after all the shit he was talking about Top Rank for potentially putting together a fight between Jarrell Miller and Tyson Fury, about how all promoters should basically shun Jarrell Miller for being full of drugs and stuff like that, and he needs to be taught a lesson, etc. If Dillian Whyte was full of fucking steroids, if Dillian Whyte was knowingly cheating, if that test has come back and it says, oh fuck, you know, this guy, he had all the steroids in the world in him. If that's what that test has said, and Eddie Hearn allowed the fight to continue under the guise of, right, well, you know, we've got a right to appeal. I don't believe Dillian Whyte would do something like that. Even though the fucking tests are showing you, listen, man, this isn't just a trace amount. This is shitloads. He's fucking been injecting all week long. Like, do you know what I mean? If Eddie Hearn was aware of all of this and still let the fight continue, then you literally can't believe a word he says from this day forward. Which is why I do believe that the substance that was in Dillian Whyte's system, I do believe it must just be a trace amount, and it must just be, there must be an explanation, a reason for it. Do you know what I mean? Because, I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but, you know, with people discussing the fact that Oscar Rivas apparently wasn't even informed that Dillian Whyte had popped 3 days before the fight, that's a fucking lawsuit waiting to happen. Like, if Oscar Rivas signed up to VADA the same way Dillian Whyte did, and he went into that ring in good faith that Dillian Whyte isn't cheating, it's one thing if a fighter gets popped afterwards and then the fighter can kind of can deny it and be like, oh no, I don't know, it's a contaminated substance, it's a contaminated supplement that I'm using or whatever. That's one thing. If you fucking get popped 3 days before the fight, as a promoter, it's your responsibility to let the opponent know this is what's happened. Do you still want to continue? Do you know what I mean? And if they haven't told Oscar Rivas, then Oscar Rivas has every right to be fucking pissed off and every right to sue if he's legally able to. Like, I think, like, obviously, like I said, we still need to know what it is, but I just think it would be so short-sighted of Eddie Hearn to allow the fight to continue if Dillian Whyte was genuinely, he was basically cheating if he had shitloads of steroids in his system. The only way I reckon this was allowed to go on is there is a genuine explanation as to why a banned substance was found in his system. Because if that isn't the case, then Eddie Hearn has lost all credibility. Especially, like I say, after the moral high ground he was taking around Jarrell Miller. Now, for Dillian Whyte, this is such a fucking difficult situation, man. Like, he's one of the guys that's quite vocal about people that are cheating. You know, he talks about how AJ has a TUE, and he, you know, was vocal about Jarrell Miller being a cheater, etc. And like, obviously, if he's like, him having that outlook doesn't mean shit, because Jarrell Miller had that same outlook about AJ. Jarrell Miller kept talking about how AJ is a drugs cheat and stuff like that, and look how that turned out. And it almost seems like people that cheat love talking about how others are cheating, almost in an act to justify it to themselves, like justify why they're cheating themselves by pointing the finger at everyone else and kind of convincing themselves that everyone's at it, so it's okay for me to do it as well. Do you know what I mean? But with Dillian Whyte, like, he made his way into this mandatory position. I mean, this fight that he's supposed to be having for the belt isn't going to happen until next year anyway. But does this have an impact on that? Does this fail test, depending on what the outcome is of this whole situation, how will that impact his mandatory slot? I don't know. Obviously, look, here's where we are at the moment. We literally don't know enough to make a valid judgment, I suppose. We don't have enough information, but I'm looking forward to finding out what the substance was, how much of it was in the system. I need Dillian Whyte to have a full and proper explanation as to how it was found in the system, and I need Eddie Hearn to really justify how he let the fight continue. Because if they just keep silent now, then that just reeks of guiltiness to me. Anyway, let me know what you guys think. Put your comments below. Don't be scared to hit the like button. Share this with a friend if you've enjoyed it. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. I'll catch you guys on the next one.